out.
All right, Ed, I hit the button.
Good moisture in the soil, pulls out very easily. That really did work. And I as a matter of fact, was over there the other night, and there's still no poison ivy in there as today.
It's on it.
So that's one of the most effective ways is pulling it out. If you can't pull it out, find out where it's coming out of the ground, cut it off at the ground. Now you've killed the vine. Gingerly take that vine and stuff it in the plastic bag. Don't let it touch you. And then remember where you cut that off. You can spot treat that where you cut it off with Roundup. Just spot treat it just right on the top. And then watch that area. If it starts to sprout back up again, a quick spot. And you can use, again, the quart milk jug or a gallon milk jug, cut the bottom out. That concentrates it right to a specific area. So you can work around perennials, flowers, berries, landscape by doing it that way. But you have to be very cautious, very meticulous. But physical removal, if you can pull it out of the ground, is one of the best ways. You get it, it's gone, done deal. If you by chance break out, and we're going to have Dan on the show with us next week, don't forget about Zanfel. It's a good wash after you break out in a rash to pull those oils out of the rash. He's going to be on next week. We'll talk with Dan about, he'll give you some good suggestions on poison ivy removal as well.
Okay,
all right, thanks to all of our callers. Thanks to our sponsors.
Hey, when
thanks
JC comes on, just remind him
Clark Taylor, our
he is
producer,
going
because
after,
without Emily, none of this stuff would happen. Now, do yourself a favor. Where are you going to plant the pollinator plants? Where are you going to plant a tree? Make it the best weekend of your life. See ya.
From the Elk and Elk Studios, Elk and Elk, working for every client every day. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Spring has arrived. Kurtz Brothers wants to support our local community and make it possible for you to do so too. Take 38% off your order of bulk or bagged mulch, soil and leaf compost, or pay retail price. They'll mail you a Visa card worth 38% off. Spend it at local businesses. Use code KBCARES when you visit kbcolumbus.com. KB for Kurtz Brothers. That's kbcolumbus.com and use code KBCARES or call 614-43-MULCH and mention this offer.
One of the really nice things about the team at USA Insulation is most of the work they do to your house, that work that makes you more comfortable in the summer, warmer in the winter, they do most of that from the outside. Now, the folks at USA Insulation, they know CDC guidelines are of the utmost importance today. So when you call and get scheduled, they're going to come to your house and they're going to follow CDC guidelines. They've got inventory price to move, which means they're ready to work. They also know federal government today is offering a $500 credit for energy. So you look at that. I think so.
Amazing Grace.
Hey, Steve, what can you help me with?
Queued up a little
Steve
bit for me?
I'll match it. So now you've got $1,000 going toward that whole home insulation. Makes it super easy. Summertime, it's almost here. And those lazy, hazy, hot days are coming. Don't be uncomfortable inside your house. Get premium foam insulation from USA Insulation, and you will be comfortable forevermore. Give them a call, get scheduled, and get comfortable. 529-2440 or usainsulation.net.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
News reports on the top and 30 minutes past the hour. Breaking news immediately. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. Primary care can help fix the problem. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Your station for news, traffic, and weather in Central Ohio. News Radio 610 WTVN, Columbus. WDC HD2 Asheville, an iHeartRadio station.
Yeah,
From
that's it.
ABC News, I'm Dave
Yeah,
Patrick.
yep.
On a
You got
sunny
it on.
Saturday morning at West
Perfect.
Point,
That's why you're good.
President Trump at the commencement ceremony at the U.S. Military Academy acknowledging the families of the class of 2020 that did not attend because of coronavirus restrictions.
To all of the parents, grandparents, and family members watching this ceremony.
Okay, so
from your beautiful home.
You're ending, right, Eric? And that's
Even
what
Yes,
I'm
I'm ending, and my last line is the defenders of freedom, the ones keeping us safe every day, say their names. We cannot forget their sacrifices.
For 2 weeks prior to today's outdoor ceremony. About 800 Americans died from COVID-19 every day this week.
So we're all going through these names. I'm the last one. I'll get that final line
by
and
the
then the
4th of
intro.
July, despite some states continuing to reopen this weekend.
And while Texas is still pushing ahead with reopening, now allowing restaurants at 75% capacity, the state's hospitalization rate has jumped 42% since
He's only here
Memorial
for a
Day.
long time.
He
just comes in and out. He barely makes it for the show.
COVID-19 cases at twice the rate of the national average.
That's
So
not
the governor
true.
has said lifted restrictions will not return.
ABC's Trevor Ault. There is no movement, it appears, in ending a standoff between demonstrators and the city of Seattle over a 5-block area taken over by the demonstrators. They have control of the 5 blocks, including a police precinct that has now been abandoned.
But you got to give a shout out on there.
One of the
my
biggest
good
issues
friend
here in
Lori
negotiating an
Marval
end
joined.
appears to be the lack of leadership among
We went to high
demonstrators.
school together.
Nobody really seems to be in control. Their demands differ a bit depending on who you talk to.
Here's a
Theo
big
has
shout
been
out to
here
my
from the
good friend, or
beginning.
your good
He says there's
friend.
a lot of
You don't
fear
know her.
in this
Yeah,
crowd.
why would I be saying
People are on
that?
edge, wondering
Lori
if
who?
the cops are going
It's
to
Marvel.
come back.
She just joined.
And if they're
Just
going
say
to
hey.
suddenly show up in riot gear.
At least right now,
texting
though,
or
there's
on
no
air?
sign police are
On
going to move
Facebook.
back in. Alex Stone, ABC News, Seattle.
You're listening to ABC News.
An Ohio State senator has been fired from his day job over comments he made about African Americans and the COVID-19 pandemic. Stephen Huffman, Republican from Tip City, called black people the colored population and asked if they were contracting the virus at higher rates because they don't wash their hands well. The comments were made during a Senate Health Committee meeting. Huffman's been fired from his job as an emergency room doctor. The rate of COVID-19 infection up across Ohio. Health officials say the total number of cases has increased more than 7% from last week. Total of 40,424 since the count began. Coronavirus-related deaths also rose to 2,058, an increase of 6.5%. Before Dr. Amy Acton resigned as Ohio's state health director, she taped a town hall for children about COVID-19 this morning on CNN. Dr. Acton was asked by children, well, when can they go back and visit their family members again?
I know, it's so hard. I know we all miss our friends and our families, and it's something that we had to do together to keep people safe, and you've done such a good job of that.
She also told children that wearing a face mask makes you a superhero because superheroes wear capes and masks. Ohioans are now permitted to dance at bars, restaurants, and banquet halls. An amended public health order says that open congregate areas are allowed to be open, but social distancing guidelines must be followed. Crowd sizes at banquet halls still limited to 300 guests. State House members have rejected a bill that would have banned the sale of Confederate memorabilia at county fairs in Ohio. The bill, sponsored by Democrats, voted down by Republicans, who are in the majority in the Ohio House. The Ohio State Fair already has its own ban on the sale of Confederate items. I'm Tom Moore.
Filling your news feed with the top trending news at the top and bottom of the hour. Columbus's news is on News Radio 610 WTVN.
We're all feeling the weight of COVID-19, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are becoming desperate. Join Compassion International and provide for a family in poverty. Make your one-time $40 gift. Text HOPE to 83393.
It's always fun for me when I go to Allen's Coin Shop. Run into so many different people doing so many different things. I mean, some people come to Allen's because they need a little scratch. Yeah, maybe they inherited a few pieces from dad or grandpa, or maybe it's just, look, I'm a little short this month, so here's a few things I need to sell so I can come up with some cash. And Allen's is always there for you on that. Other people like me looking to add to their collections. Maybe it's U.S. coins, it's world coins, it's gold, it's silver. I just want to paw through the big kettle of wheat pennies, or I want to dig in that world coin treasure chest. See what I can find. So many different ways to collect, and now 60 years, Allen's has been taking care of people in Central Ohio. So look, if you need a little money and you've got stuff to sell, stop by Allen's. Top prices, that's what they pay every day. And if you're like me and you're looking to add to your collection, shop online at allensinc.com, or do what I love to do, stop in the shop, State Street in Westerville, and see what they've got today. Allen's Coin Shop, serving collectors since 1960.
Deputy Sheriff James Blair, Sergeant Damon Gutzweiler, Lieutenant Stephen Williams, Police Officer Waldus J. Johnson, Police Officer Nathan James Linday, Police Officer Coldy Holt,
Michael S. Mosher, Lieutenant Glendale Hutto Jr., Police Officer Dan Walters, Police Officer Justin Putnam, Officer Brian Lath, Commander Greg Carnicle.
Sergeant Ben Jenkins, Officer Christopher Ryan Walsh, Sergeant James R. O'Connor IV, Officer Brent William Perry Scrimshire, Corporal Andrew J. Gillette, Officer David Kellywood,
Police Officer Nick O'Rear, Trooper Joseph Bullock, Deputy Sheriff Richard Witten, Officer Tiffany Enriquez, Officer Kalukik Kalamar, Public Safety Officer Jackson Winokur. These are the heroes, the 24 officers already killed by gunfire this year alone in our country. The defenders of our freedom, the ones keeping us safe every day. Say their names. We cannot forget their sacrifices.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target. We're broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. That's located at 999 Bethel Road. I'm your host, Eric, along with my father, Phil.
You do stuff like this, and it tears me up, Eric.
Every time I hear the bagpipes, it does it.
You know, you don't hear this on the regular media.
No. Oh, no.
You know, say their names. Say their names. How about these guys? The 24 this year alone, you know, killed in the line of duty just by gunfire. JC, what's the total outside of gunfire?
Oh, well, there have been 47 that died of the coronavirus that they contracted while performing their duties as a police officer. Actually, 51. That number went up by 3 to 51. And there have been a total, in addition to those 24, a total of 53 officers that have died in the line of duty, some by vehicular assault or in the car chases. It's 53 so far this year, plus 47 from COVID contracted while on duty.
Wow. We are the owners of
103.
LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility and are active law enforcement. But for 1 hour on Saturdays, we put together a group of firearm experts to discuss new products in the market, training tips, and oftentimes political topics surrounding the Second Amendment. Our commitment, though, has always been to bring you facts about our industry and ultimately help our listeners and our customers with safe, responsible ownership of firearms. I realize we've built the show around firearms ownership, training, Second Amendment, and responsible gun ownership, but we also, at times, because of our background, find it necessary to give a law enforcement perspective on events. Today, we're going to continue to cover the chaotic events of the country, but you also hear some perspective that you probably didn't quite hear in the media. We are going to continue to interject facts and verified stories about the current state of the country. But we're also getting back to a little discussion on firearms. And I'm kind of excited because this week our Gun of the Week is actually a request by a listener that has kept getting kicked down the street. Tom requested this probably about a month, 6 weeks ago, and we're going to get to it today. So
I don't have it, do I?
No.
Because I kind of lost track of who has the Gun of the Week. Okay.
Yeah, you and me both. We'd like to thank our sponsors, TTG Technologies, Toyota West, Jackson Lawn Care and Egress Windows, Trigger Group, Blackwing Shooting Center, River's Edge Cutlery, CNS Engraving, Clean Water Systems, and, of course, LAPD Training Facility, all who make the show possible each week. Joining me today in the LAPD studios, JC is on our live line. JC, I know you didn't see it, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Did you see my 7:45 a.m. live interview with Good Day Columbus?
No, I actually missed that this morning.
So did I.
I heard you were up early on the radio right off the bat.
Yeah, you know what? It was one of those Zoom interviews, and those are tough. You know, those are tough. And but it went well, and of course I get the feedback from my wife, and she says you sound more and more like a politician. You talked for 5 minutes and didn't say anything, which that's kind of disturbing because I tried not to fathom myself that. But it was good, though, and we thank our good friends over at Channel 6 and Jackie and Maria for having us on today. To my right, Big Ed. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I can't hear myself.
You can't hear yourself?
No. Ed, there's a reason for that.
Oh, well, thanks.
My father and co-owner sits to my left. Pablo, let me get this straight. I just want to make sure I have all the facts.
Sure.
The world, there's chaos everywhere. It's just nuts. Every place you look, the world's upside down. The shelves are almost empty. People are buying ARs and AKs and magazines and ammo, and you bought another darn Model 10.
No, wait.
I mean, how does that? I mean,
don't throw me under the bus on this one. Wasn't this a gift?
From who?
Well, it was a gift. It was.
Right.
So there was no outlay of money, but you've accumulated another one.
How many firearms did I pass up to get to this one?
I know.
I said, Eric, if what you gave me was a Model 10, I said I would keep it.
So I had to go out there,
and you had to
pull some string. Actually, that was nice looking.
It is, and now that I have decent grips on it, it'll go with my collection.
Right.
I think I can start a police department.
Seriously.
Really?
Or a private security agency.
Or private security, yeah.
If you missed the show, you can catch the podcast at WTVN.com. We're also on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and now Google Podcast. Facebook is a great place to watch the show. You can watch it live, and then the shows are archived out there, as well as YouTube. You can go out there anytime and watch past shows on YouTube. Kind of get a neat perspective. You hear some of the interaction during the commercials and see the gun of the week on the table. And the neat thing, too, about the Facebook feed is that Big Ed here is constantly answering the Facebook listeners and watchers. And during the commercials, you're actually talking to them, Ed.
Yes.
You know what? And it's your best scenario. You get to talk to them, but they don't get to talk back.
That's right.
Right. But it's good.
And there's a lot of them that would love to say a whole lot back to me, I'm sure.
So give you an update on the store. Classes are back in full force. We love to see it. All these new firearms owners that we've been a part of the last couple months. It is so refreshing to see they are coming back for classes in droves. We've added on a ton of new basic classes and CCWs, and our private one-on-ones are through the roof as well. Matter of fact, you might even get Big Ed involved in teaching. So
that's right. I'll help you out as much as I can.
If you want to request him or request not to have him, just let us know, and we can make sure that. And JC is back on the docket with that as well. So almost back to normal here. Sunday hours still only open till 5 during the week, but that could change here in the near future. We still have plenty of ammo, a few firearms coming in here and there. Ammo I have it. It's just the prices aren't good anymore. They just have gone up, and so unfortunately that's reflected. So JC, it's time for the news. What do you have for us?
Well, it's still a lingering. Unfortunately, these protests. They really have. They're coming down, but a lot of things have happened. What I find is actually kind of a little disturbing is, in the response to the killing of George Floyd. I mean, the officer, he's no longer an officer. He's been charged with murder. But this happened in Minneapolis, as everybody knows. But when that happened, that week of the protests, in June 1st, so what happened? Shootings surged. Murders were up over 100% in New York City. And not to be outdone, Los Angeles, during these protests, murders went up 250%. Over the same time last year, and there was a 56% in Los Angeles, an increase.
That's hard to believe.
Shootings overall, and almost double in New York City. So here's protesters protesting the loss of a life, and what happens? Increase in murders. Those are just two cities. So I just find that really disturbing. Instead of peaceful protesting, murders are going up. The other thing that's surprising, it wasn't done by firearms, but George Floyd's family, actually on the 3rd of June, they petitioned the United Nations to help disarm police in the United States. Think about that. Now, this was from NBC News. So the family of George Floyd, obviously he was killed in Minneapolis, not by gunfire, but by a knee to the throat. They sent a letter to the Globus United Nations to ask for help in disarming police officers in the United States, and they said that they are asking the United Nations to step in and work for the end of provision of military equipment and military-type training for United States police officers. So they want to have independent prosecutions and autopsies for extrajudicial police killings and other things. And that was done by their legal team. So as far as I know, there hasn't been a response yet. But so there you go. That was one of the things that happened. Another bit of news that could really have an impact, because we all know how Governor Cuomo in New York and the state Democrats there feel about firearms. Well, another New York gun restriction bill is up, and it's Senate Bill S7065, and if passed, it require any purchaser in New York of any firearm, rifle, shotgun, pistol, to submit to a mental health evaluation. So before anyone could buy any firearm, you would have to go to a mental health expert, whether that's a physician or whoever they have designated as a mental health, and that person would have to evaluate you and say that it's okay. And, of course, one of the things is if it's the doctor, the American Medical Association has made it publicly clear that they'll do whatever necessary to prevent people from having guns. So can you imagine any health professional saying, yes, I believe that you should have one? The fact that they could be held responsible, and leave them culpable, it's easier to say, nah, I don't think so.
Can you
I
imagine
imagine they're chomping at the bit, but that's crazy. Yeah.
Can you imagine the professional insurance that they would have to carry if they're out there making a call whether someone should own a gun or not? It's just never going to happen. It's craziness. It's crazy.
Can you imagine making an appointment? Trying to get an appointment with your doctor already is pretty tough. But do you think where'd you go on the waiting list on that one? It's pretty crazy.
JC, there's another one that I know you're going to do, and I'm going to start it off because it shows how biased and how unfair the media is on how they report. So, JC, we've talked about it for a while now. There's a bill in Ohio that's called duty to inform. And what it references is when you get pulled over or any interaction with a police officer, as the law is written now, you must promptly notify them if you're a concealed carry holder and have your firearm on you. So there, I agree that promptly notify was a little vague. It can be interpreted different ways. So they set out to clean that up, which isn't a bad thing. And so they set out to do this, and now it will read that that you notify them after the interaction where the officer asks for your license. So there's a definitive thing. So if the officer asks for your license and ID at that time, then you could notify them. So it's not a bad thing. It kind of cleans it up. The Columbus Dispatch, which many say have gone off the charts here, this was their headline, JC. The GOP lawmakers, so the Republicans, pass a late-night spending bill. So they got up in the middle of the night.
Late night.
No one was around. It was late night, right?
Did it undercover.
But it gets better. Listen to this. Dems slam as unsafe for police and black people. How the heck do you draw that conclusion that this is bad for black people? That is absolutely, categorically asinine and is meant to inflame the situation and fan the flame. It's ridiculous. There is no correlation whatsoever. But that's the headline, and it's the headline for someone who doesn't know better, that look at the Republicans are doing.
Why don't we find out the author of that article?
I have already emailed him.
And ask him to explain how that is.
I've already emailed him with no response.
No, well, go
figure. Of course you'll get no response.
There's only one reason for that. There's only one reason for that. To inflame.
Why don't we get a hold of the editor?
Right.
And say, explain this,
Look, they're not reasonable. They are one-sided. It's become the Columbus disgrace, not the Dispatch. And they have just everything is negative. They will do nothing positive. Their goal is to provide propaganda, anti-gun propaganda. There's just no doubt about it. They say nothing positive or even neutral. Everything is negative. Now, this bill, we have all sorts. The reason they passed it, and it wasn't the first time. Everyone knew about this because they were voted on it last week. We covered the story last week, and they were going to vote, but they postponed it due to the George Floyd funeral and 2 minutes of silence that would have happened during that the governor had called for. And they said, we'll just do it later.
No, that was 8 minutes of silence.
What this does is as Eric said, this cleans it up. Now when a police officer ever stops you and said, hey, pardon me, can I see some identification? Or at that time, that is when you notify. We've had all sorts of issues on promptly notifying in the past, that's what brought this up to begin with. It's just there's no definition of it. So this cleans it up. It makes it great. No big deal. Matter of fact, it makes it better. Yet they portray it in a negative issue and then throw blacks in, which I have no idea where they're coming from.
None.
No idea.
When we go back from the break, we're going to get to the gun of the week, and we had a recommendation from one of the Facebook watchers. Seriously, we need to have the elected officials go through that mental health evaluation before they can be elected. Not a bad thing.
Nice? Wouldn't that be
We're on
nice?
Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
Always just
Hey, do you hear Ed?
No, I don't hear him.
Did you unplug something yet? Look in your headset.
I thought you told me to unplug the station when you are on Facebook.
You did.
Hello, there I am. Can you hear me?
Will you stop moving around, Edward?
It's not me. It was you.
I had a button pushed.
You didn't have.
Will you talk to your fans?
Wait, do you want the commercial or no? You just want when weather goes back?
Say it again.
Do you want the last commercial so you can hear it?
Just halfway through it or something.
Okay.
What's the temp there?
63.
Awesome. Hey, awesome job on the front.
Yes, very good on finding that bagpipes. I really
in 2 minutes or less.
That was awesome.
She's good, Ed.
She's very good.
You should stop talking bad about her.
I don't ever talk bad about her. Don't turn and start something.
On Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., my show, For the Defense. The Koffel Law Firm is a group of moms and dads who represent moms, dads, or their kids when the police come knocking. Sunday mornings, 11 a.m., For the Defense.
WBC 6 first warning weather for today. Scattered showers, cooler, mostly to partly cloudy, high of 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, cool, low of 50. Sunday, partly cloudy, few showers, mainly southeast, high of 74. Currently 63 degrees on your severe weather station, News Radio 610 WTVN. I heard this, JC, that this is what they were playing in Idaho. Is that right, JC?
Oh, yeah. I wish I could pronounce the name of this town, and this is, and I do apologize for this. There is a town in Idaho, and folks, you can just look it up, where the protesters were going to ship in protesters to start some trouble in this town in Idaho. And they had apparently several vans, Mercedes vans, loaded with outside protesters that were coming in to cause trouble. And when the townspeople heard that this was happening, they gathered together, and they say 1,000. They said hundreds and hundreds, and estimates have been at 1,000 or a little more, showed up armed in the streets. Can you imagine a town with 1,000 armed citizens? And all the pictures show them with ARs slung over them, guys in three-piece suits with exposed shoulder holsters. And they said that when the protesters showed up, they just kind of looked down the street and saw 1,000 armed citizens and decided maybe they wouldn't go there and start trouble. I thought that was great. No shots fired, no damage, no anything. And if they wanted to peacefully protest, they could, but these folks just decided to get back in their Mercedes vans and leave town.
And
I thought
it was just rumored that Twisted Sister was playing in the background, right? We're not sure about that. So, JC, finally, we talk about guns. You know, I mean, we're so sidetracked these days with all the political chaos. One of our listeners, Tom, and this goes back, I'm ashamed to say, the beginning of May. he had written us and asked us to do a gun of the week or to talk about different shotguns for youth. So specifically, he has a 7-year-old in his life, and he was a little bit concerned with the length of pull with some of the shotguns out there. So I said, you know what? There is some awesome things out there. So we did a little research on what shotguns are good for the little guys and girls, and shotguns that will stay with them. I mean, one of my favorite guns of all time, still to this day, is my Remington 870 youth model with the shorter length of pull and 20 gauge. It's still one of my favorite guns.
You still have the bar graph in your office of when you were trying to earn money to make that or to buy that, and up the top was a picture of it. Yeah,
I know. Still one of my
great. I thought you were going to say your H&R.
Oh, H&R's neat too, but the 870 was truly it's beautiful to this day with the bluing. So, JC, what did you find out there? What's out there for the ones just getting started?
Well, if you're just getting started, now let's go back to some basics and take a look. I mean, what is a youth shotgun? Well, usually the little ones, their arms are a little bit shorter. I need to define length of pull. A lot of people don't know what that is. You see LOP initials, and what is that? If you take your arm and you bend it up at a 90-degree angle, where the butt of the shotgun would fit right where your forearm and your and your humerus, where your upper arm meet in that bend right there, to the tip of your trigger finger, but not the entire tip, just to the last joint line. That distance is called the length of pull. And for most adult shotguns, that length is between 14 and 3/4 inches. It varies by manufacturer. But there you go. Nowadays, people are bigger, and you can get spacers or add-ons or slip-on pads to make it longer. But that's kind of standard for the industry, 14 and 3/4 for an adult. Children have a little shorter arms, so you can actually get shorter lengths of pull from 10 up to 13 and 3/8. 13 and 3/8 is pretty much standard in that range, 13 to 13. But you can get 10.5 to 13, shorter length of pull. So why? Because they can hold it to their shoulder and be able to reach the trigger comfortably. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is they're not really as strong as we are. So what they do is the manufacturers make shorter barrels. So 24 inches would be about the farthest length for a youth gun. A lot of they make youth guns. A lot of the 20, 21 inch, 22 inch is very common, up to 24 inches. That longer barrel is just harder for them to hold. Another mistake that people make is thinking that, I'll get a 410 because it has so much less recoil. Boy, a 410 is an expert's shotgun. It puts out such a small shot pattern and less pellets, and it really is disheartening to youth when you can't hit anything. So they think that ideally a 20 gauge is about it. They can handle recoil of a 20 gauge, still get some great shot patterns. You can get some extra long shells for that, the 3-inch shells besides the 2 3/4, and it's a great shotgun. So when you take a look at the basics, I think that's where you need to start to look. You can measure your son or daughter's length of pull and go start from there. And all the shotgun makers make. You can get anything from a single shot topper. We call it topper, just like your H&R that you had, and Rossi makes the ones where they're break open single shot. But most people seem to want to go with a gun that will carry forward in the future, and the pump shotgun is great. And again, looking at a 20 gauge shotgun, there are so many out there. The Remington you had is great. They have that. They have compact ones. They have that the youth, the 870 Junior. But the one that really has the company that really is catering to youth shotguns is Mossberg. Now, I was really shocked. Mossberg has 24 different models of youth shotguns. 24. So, now those are all pumps. They make double barrels, by the way, over and unders. Beretta has some if you want to go the extra and get some expensive stuff. But they're great shots.
And JC, some of those now come with the different spacers for the stock, so it can grow with the child, and you'll have it for your whole life. Yeah. Well, JC, we got to get to the bottom of the hour news when we come back. And thanks, Tom, for asking that question.
When we do come back, I have a real quick story about your hunting experience, Eric.
Okay, and then we also have Jonathan waiting on hold, and we're going to get to some of the topics of the day. We're on Target Broadcasting Live from the studios of LEPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
Your home.
Hey, Facebook fans, how we doing today? Glad to see you're all checking in. I've been looking at this new House Bill 5717 that the 116th Congress has introduced. It was brought to my attention by one of our followers, Sean Carell. And Sean, looking at this, I can see there's a lot of good points and a lot of really crazy ones. They're trying to do the right thing on making the sales legitimate, and I do appreciate that, and I do back that up. But this thing where they're talking about a household member can petition a court order to have firearms removed from somebody who they feel is a risk of committing violence. So now family members are going to be able to call the police, tell them that their brother, sister, husband, daughter, cousin, whatever, they're risky of violence and to have any firearms removed. Well, I tell you, if that's not letting the government come into your house, I don't know what is. Restricts important sales of manufacturer or possesses semi-automatic assault weapons and large capacity. So they're still trying to throw that in there. Call them assault guns. Take the large capacity magazines away. So we can pull that out of there if they want to try and pass this. Anyways, 5717, House Bill, HR 5717. Check it out. Just go into Google it. There's some good stuff in there. I see they're doing a lot of background checks. The biggest thing is they're going to want everybody to obtain a license to purchase or possess a firearm or ammunition. Crazy. We don't have enough licenses out there now. We're going to have to purchase another one. More money being generated for who? Just off-the-wall stuff. Off-the-wall stuff. Anyways, red flags are unconstitutional, Paul says. I agree, Paul.
Live from LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in our LEPD studios. JC is calling in. He's on the hotline, the phone line. He will be back soon. My good friend Big Ed sits to our right. My father and co-owner sits to my left. And one of our good customers, our all-time listeners, just an all-around good guy, Jonathan, is on the phone with us. How you doing, Jonathan?
Good. How are you doing? Emily says I got to scoot the boots, so I'll talk fast. Okay, we're in a pandemic, okay, and what they're showing that this is a protest, but it's not a protest, it's revolutionary and rioting. Revolutionary activities and rioting are not covered under the First Amendment, nor is protesting covered under the First Amendment. Protests are not allowed during a pandemic. So why is it that the mayor of the city and other cities are doing nothing other than the fact that they're trying to support a revolution and not a protest?
Jonathan, you know what? We have asked the same question, and I have talked to officers on the front lines, and I said, why aren't we enforcing some of the things we can? None of anyone in law enforcement that I've spoken with have any issue with people protesting. The issue is with when it goes to the next step, and that's what we're seeing. And they have been told to stand down. I mean, that's just how it is. They have been told to stand down. You can't protest during a pandemic. That's not covered in the First Amendment. Right. So I mean, it is. I don't think they would enforce it if it wasn't even during the pandemic.
They were canceling weddings and funerals too, if you recall. But they surely had a big one the other day.
It's crazy.
Well, it's terrible. I see small businesses or businesses, and we saw that DeWine put in a task force to monitor and enforce any infringements on social distance and there's no social distance being observed here at all.
Right. You're right. Absolutely. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense.
Whatever
it's like,
fits the mode.
Yeah. It's like everything else right now. Nothing makes sense, and nothing seems to be based on logic or fact. Well,
yeah, I'll just add real quick, because I know we're trying to go fast, is that I wish you'd offer maybe a course on home defense, and what I mean by home defense, how to defend your home in the situation of a riot.
You know what? That you're not far off on that. JC and I have talked about something like that, and when he's back in town here, watch for that. Maybe we'll talk and get something on the books. That's a very good kind of tied in with our situational awareness.
Yeah, that's I'm NRA certified in personal protection in the home. A lot of instructors are, but there is a class simply on that. We just haven't run it yet, but there is one.
Yep. So thanks, Jonathan, for calling in. Always good to hear from you. Him and I talk a couple times throughout the week, sometimes too.
Can I talk about my story?
Yes.
Real quick. Eric took a hunting safety course when he was 10 years old, and I think that very same day that the course was over, we went to Vance's, and we bought your H&R. I think that's Topper.
Yeah.
20 gauge single action or break action.
Break action.
Okay. And I remember the first time that you shot, and then you had to reload. You held the barrel vertical, and you tried to put the shell in. Kept on falling out.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah. But I have to say that you carried 5 extra shells on the stock of it, and you became very good at reloading quickly because you missed a lot.
Right.
You know? And yeah.
I thought you were. See, I'm happy.
No, we were hunting squirrels. I mean, that's all we ever hunted.
I'm happy. I thought you were going to talk about the first time when I shot with the log behind me and the recoil.
And fell backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good times. I
Many
still
good
have all
stories.
those guns.
Yeah. All right.
So with all the chaos going, we felt an obligation to continue our commitment to facts. So we wanted to, in the next 20, 25 minutes, talk about some of the facts that are out there. I also wanted, we talked a little bit last week about some firsthand experience down there, and something that you're not seeing on the media. And it's something that I honestly have a little bit of mixed emotions about going on down there. Open carry of AKs and ARs is all over the place down there, and there wasn't 10 minutes that went by on the radio where there wasn't a call that went out, just for an FYI to everyone.
Where's down there?
Downtown.
Okay.
Downtown. Where there were, 4 guys with AKs walking down the street, 3 guys hanging out the windows. And
that's not good.
Though that was illegal, but the fact that they're down there expressing their rights, and you have to support that open carry, right? It makes you awful nervous as an officer during times of unrest, and that's what it was. It was civil unrest when you're getting hit with bricks and bottles.
Yeah.
That I'm standing 10 feet from a guy that, call it like it is, the guy probably shouldn't have been able to own a gun.
Mm-hmm.
If any indications are on what he was saying, and you're 10 feet from him, and he has an AK loaded. That's what these officers, the pressures they're putting under. No one, that was their right. No one was disarming them or saying anything. But when you want a full picture of what it was like down there, you have to include that, and certainly the media didn't give enough credence to what was actually going on down there. Chief Gilbert, Franklin County, put out there on Twitter right after the mayor came out and said there are peaceful protests of a guy hanging out the sunroof of his Suburban with an AK, going down the street backwards. That's just how it was down there, guys. So, beyond the peaceful protests, and there was a lot of peaceful people protesting, that was absolutely fine. There was also a lot of this.
I need to say something. I have a friend of mine that sent me some information about facts, who's in dispute with a lot of the things that we talk about. She sent me some information, and I've been looking at it, and we here, or at least I will speak for myself, and I know you'll chime in, we'll try and get all factual information to put out there. We do not want to put out fake news, fake information, just to get somebody's engine revved up. Because that's what the media does now. And that's exactly what you're talking about there. You didn't see any of that on TV. You didn't see any of the media report any of that kind of actions of people. and the guy's in the car driving down the road with a gun like that is illegal, and the law was not enforced. Why? Because all it would have done was add to the chaos that was already down there and probably make somebody open fire on the police.
Right.
So, John, I know that Eric had mentioned earlier that you would have some facts on officers who were killed in the line of duty during the protest. Do you have that information by chance?
During the protest?
Yes.
I don't have it for Columbus and nationally, but we were looking at officers that were killed just this year. So we were trying to, and I can get that for next week, Ed. But we had a lot of stats about officers killed this year nationally, officers killed last year. But
I did see that
gathering. We'll try to get to
and
that.
And the reason I bring that up, John, is because I remember seeing a picture of 6 black officers that were supposedly killed during these riots since they started, and I'm being challenged to find out that they have not been killed during the riots or were not part of the riots.
Right, and I will tell you, Ed, and this goes both ways. I'm not going to say that there's both sides don't put out crummy stuff sometimes. We actually picked up a story on our Facebook that got sent to us, and it was of an ambush-style thing that went on during the riots of an officer, and oh my word, it hasn't been reported.
Right.
And this entity that was putting it out made it sound like it just happened, and we dug a little deeper and found out it had happened a couple years ago. So that misinformation, you have to, as a consumer and a citizen, educate yourself on it. So here, listen to this. So we went, and again, we're obsessed with the facts about this. And we went in, and I've been reading some of the stuff about the arguments from Black Lives Matter. I want to hear what they have to say. There's, somewhere in between all of this is credence and everything. So you need to educate yourself. And on their site, their actual site, there was a line that grabbed my attention, and it said. It read, let's see what it said here. It says, currently, we are fighting 2 deadly viruses. COVID-19 is threatening our health, and white supremacy is threatening our existence. Both are killing us. And I thought, wow, I mean, that is a strong statement. So I went and I looked, and we reference this a lot of times. It's fact. It gets rolled up through all the police agencies, but the FBI Uniform Crime Report is a great place to gather data and information. So I went out there, and we looked at 2018, the last full year of data that was available. So listen to this, JC. In 2018, according to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, in that year, nationwide, 14,123 people were murdered. Horrible. 14,000 people murdered in the U.S. That in and of itself is heartbreaking, right? Of that, 6,088 were white, 7,407 were black. 52% of the murders were attributed to the black race. That's horrible, considering
it's a high number.
Considering they only account for 13% of the population. That's disturbing. I mean, I feel for that community. That is absolutely stunning when you look at that. So I went to the next level, and I said, okay, of the 7,407 black people killed in 2018, let's look. Was this white supremacy thing? Is this where I'm going to find it, right? Ed, of the 7,407, 89% were killed by other black people. Almost 90%, just under 90%.
But you don't hear about that.
No.
The media doesn't talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying. I will never say that law enforcement can't do better. I mean, we can always do better. In any profession, if you think you can't, then you're probably not in the right profession. We can always do better. But Chicago, JC, we were talking about this during before. Chicago, this year alone, 272 homicides so far this year in Chicago. They're already on pace to beat 2018, 2019. Okay? So 272 homicides this year. 248 of the 272 were black people. Almost 95% in this own community.
Black on black.
Well, no, I didn't get to see who the perpetrator was. These are just the victims on this.
Gotcha.
Of that, guess how many police shootings? Okay, 272 homicides in Chicago. 5
were law enforcement shootings.
5
are law enforcement.
And that didn't say whether or not that the suspect had a gun or the suspect.
No. I mean, report. So it's just the facts continue not to support the narrative that the media puts out. I'm not saying there's not a problem or that something shouldn't be done, but we need to educate ourselves. Don't trust anything. Don't trust what we say. Go out there and look for yourself. Well,
defunding police departments. That's another thing. They're sitting there saying that we need to be trained better. We need to work with the community better. They're going to take the funds away from us for that training.
So how's that going to work?
How's it going to happen?
I mean, we were looking. I estimated last year personally, I probably did over 50 hours of continuing ed.
Right.
Through different means. I mean, sometimes they were simple as watching videos with scenarios. Sometimes they were in person. Sometimes they were on the range. 50 hours. These departments, it's a financial burden.
Yeah.
You have to fund them. How on earth can you say on one side, we need to defund them and we got to give them more training? It's not going to happen, guys. It's not.
There's no way it could happen.
There's no.
And for the whatever group, be it left, be in the middle, to saying we need to take the money away from them, but yet they want to take and make sure we're at the top of our game and the good police. How are you going to do that when you don't have the money to continually train? Because you have to have it.
You have to continually train, JC.
And as police officers, when budgets get cut, what's the first thing that
Training.
gets cut in the department?
Training.
Tell me how many rounds they shoot per year. You would think that as an officer carrying a gun, how many rounds do you average per year?
JC,
in training?
You hit the nail on the head. Guess how many rounds, and I'm embarrassed to even say this. I know it's a good tee-up. Guess how many rounds by OPATA standards today, Ohio Police Officers Training Academy, to carry an off-duty. Guess how many rounds you have to shoot to qualify?
Well, that's got to be probably at least 50.
Oh, you would think.
At least.
Guess how many rounds?
I'm going to say 20. I really know the
20
answer. I know
is
the answer,
yeah.
but I'm just playing with the public. It's ridiculous.
8
rounds.
8 rounds, and here's your blessing.
Well, and I haven't looked recently, but OPATA even has a 1-round qualification course.
There's some states that have that.
And how do you do
and it
that?
It goes back to the budgets. You can't afford the ammo, and that was how it is and how it is now going into all of this. You have to be able to fund them. We talked to Dave Yost, the Attorney General. I mean, and he is on board. We need to have the brightest and the best, and we need to train them. One last thing before we go into break, and JC, you and I think I sent it to all you guys too. And this is just a sign of the times. I'm telling you. In Chicago, U.S. Representative Bobby Rush. I think he's a Democrat in that state of Illinois. He had his office vandalized during the riots. At some point, though, the police went into his office. It was a little bit of a safe area and stuff. And he has video that he felt necessary to put out there of 3 or 4 or 5 police officers lounging in his area. And he was appalled. And they're all in tactical vests. How are they sitting there lounging when the riots are going on? And I felt like saying, sir, this is what you want. You're on one side saying, stay away. And let me tell you, you keep hounding the police and you keep demoralizing them. This is the new norm.
They're not going to respond.
No, why? Why would you?
Why would you when you have a chance of being suspended, being convicted, being charged
for something that is legit
for
your
events?
Actions.
Typically, they only show the part where the officer maybe shoves somebody. They never show the events leading up to it.
Of course not. And now cities like our city, where your city attorney ain't going to back you up, your mayor ain't going to back you up. Why do it? It's
Yeah, there's going to be a mass exodus of officers.
It started, Ed.
I'm sure
it has started.
Retired guys that are on the fence about retiring. Officers who've said, I've had enough, I'm not dealing with it anymore. And they're not going to get quality people in there.
Yep.
Right. There was a city.
How are you going to recruit?
Yeah.
Who would like to be an officer right now?
And there was a city, I think, in a Democratic state, I'm not sure, that there was like a 57-member rapid response team. They decided we're not going to do this anymore.
It was Buffalo.
That was in Buffalo.
That was because of an incident that one of their officers. Yeah.
Now, they didn't resign from the force. They just said
from that
we don't want to be the rapid response anymore.
When we come back from the break, we'll wrap up some of these thoughts and get to more. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
Keeping you up to date with.
It's okay. Well, we've put a lot of information out there, folks. I'm not getting a lot of questions on Facebook other than what about Elmer Fudd? We got to worry about Elmer because he needs his hunting guns because he's going to hunt wabbits. But I see that he's got himself a nice-looking AR platform weapon. He also has an ankle gun. But they took his shotgun away from him. And isn't the shotgun the famous fun gun for Joe Biden? Just take that double-barreled shotgun, get on the roof, and fire 2 blasts. 2. And that's all it's going to take to save you from the criminal that's out there. But they took Elmer Fudd's. What are we going to do, folks? We've got to put an end to the violence. We've got to put an end to the hatred, and it goes both ways. I agree. There's hatred both sides.
Elk and Elk, 1-800-ELK, Ohio.
Here ABC6 first warning weather for today. Scattered showers, cooler, mostly to partly cloudy, high of 72. Tonight, partly cloudy, cool, low of 50. Sunday, partly cloudy, few showers, mainly south and east, high of 74. Currently 63 degrees on your severe weather station, News Radio 610, WTVN.
The news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 610, WTVN.
Well, Mama, take this badge off of me, 'cause I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. I'm knocking on heaven's door. I'm knocking on heaven's door.
Welcome back to On Target.
Great intro.
Finally, you picked some music that's good.
Bob Dylan.
But he didn't. That's not him on that one. That's someone else's version.
Well, you know,
it sounded like Clapton.
Who was that, Emily?
Sometimes it's Guns.
It says Bob Dylan on YouTube, so that's what I went with.
Yeah,
sure
really.
Doesn't sound like him.
Maybe a young one.
And I think, well, yeah. I mean, that came out in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, but he's been singing along. Maybe that's early on when his words are so
Guns N' Roses sang that too.
Yeah, I think
some
Clapton
other people.
Wow,
but, yeah.
Phil knows Guns N' Roses. Can you believe that? Paw knows Guns N' Roses.
I do my research, Ed. You know?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today with Ed. He sits to my right. My father, Cohen, sits to my left. JC is on the line with us. Guys, we only have 2 minutes left. Next week, I think we're going to talk guns. If the world doesn't collapse between now and then,
I don't see that happening.
We're going to talk personal defense weapons, PDWs, they call them, the little short rifles that I kind of like, so maybe that's why we're talking about
it.
it.
Get 5 minutes into that.
Huh?
We can get into 5 minutes of that.
Yeah.
I think the rest of it's still going to be this. It's
No,
not
probably
going, it's
is.
not going away, Gary.
I know.
It's not going away.
I know. So let's talk, and we have 3 minutes left. JC, and you can help me with this. Let's talk some of the nonsense that occurred this week of people apologizing and stuff. Paw Patrol. Now this stuff's getting real.
They're
now
getting rid of Paw
real.
Patrol too?
There's threats. I thought it was completely gone, but I think it's still lingering, but they're getting a lot of protests. So I'm telling you, Ed, Paw Patrol goes away.
What is?
That's a call to arms.
Oh, my God, yes.
And, you know, for those of you who don't know, it's a cartoon featuring a dog who's a policeman. Cops and Live PD, this, I tell you what, talk about a tear to my eye. I don't know what I'm going to watch tonight when I'm drinking bourbon, but it's not going to be Live PD. Did that come out? Are we on?
Drinking
because Live PD, I mean, because they don't want to show anything police-related. Total nuts.
Well, I hope you have something recorded. You can always watch the old ones over.
It's not the same, though.
I know.
Now, okay, get this, guys. Again, this is just stuff that we're seeing out there. Lego may stop selling police and fire stations.
Well, what the firemen do. Everybody loves the firemen.
I know. Now they're mad at us for
well,
permit.
that makes yours a collectible now.
I know.
All right.
And JC, you got one out there for us? You got about a minute.
Well, no, this is the big one. This upset my wife so much. She said, "No, I've had it." Looney Tunes.
Oh,
They have decided that Elmer Fudd can no longer have a gun, and HBO has just said guns are gone. So here's Elmer Fudd hunting Bugs Bunny, which he has done for like 6 decades or something. And they've taken away his double-barrel shotgun. Now, get this. That's the one that Joe Biden said is the only politically correct gun out there is a double-barrel shotgun.
I was just commenting on that on Facebook.
But I'm like appalled. So what did they give him instead? He's got a giant scythe, like he's going to chop up the bunny, or he can use TNT and dynamite. But they've taken away the gun.
Oh, you mean like the rioters?
Hunting without a gun. and of course, Yosemite Sam lost both of these. He was the rootin' tootin' shooting, but now he's just the rootin' tootin'est. They take away his guns also. Empty holsters.
It's getting real, JC.
You have to check out Facebook, JC. There's been a couple of pictures on there where they show him taking the shotguns away and the 6-shooter, and they gave him an AR.
Speaking
platform.
of Facebook, do they really?
An AR.
There you go.
Thanks
and
for spending
another one, he's got a Derringer on his ankle holster.
Thanks for spending the last hour with us. Note to self, Ed here. Viewers just went to 0.
Why?
If we're, I don't know. We might be getting flagged
We
again.
got 52.
All right. See you back next week. Stay safe, and we'll see
Have
you
a
soon.
good weekend, all. Peace and love.
From the Elk and Elk Studios, Elk and Elk, working for every client every day. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Hi, this is Scott Grissett
and Jody Shields
of Columbus Mobility Specialists.
If you're having trouble climbing the stairs in your home, consider a stairlift.
I'm ready in when you're.
1 second. Start talking, please.
Hello. My favorite producer is Emily. Like that?
Like that. Thank you. Okay, I am ready.
Okay, hold on a second here. Okay, here we go. This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we discuss personal defense weapons, and I have the gun of the week, sponsored by TTG Technologies. Tune in Saturday at noon or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road. This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we discuss personal defense weapons, and I have the gun of the week, sponsored by TTG Technologies. Tune in tomorrow at noon or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road.